Now to talk about it, Christian Whiton, former State Department senior advisor and a principal at D.C. International Advisory. Christian, good to see you. This guy Quintero is a heinous, despicable human being. And, you know, the Mexicans knew that we wanted him. We have charges pending still. Statute of limitations never runs on murder. So two-part question. Did they do it deliberately, releasing him in the middle of the night last Friday, knowing that we didn't know anything about it, without a courtesy notification to the United States? And second of all, could the Mexicans have been any more deliberately insulting to the United States by doing this?
Right. I think the judge who did do this was acting intentionally. He is thought to be a PRista. This is the center-left party of Mexico. It's back in power now, although, frankly, its new president is much more centrist and much less anti-American than his predecessors. But he seems to have acted in malintent, releasing this gentleman in the middle of the night, only 28 years into a 40-year sentence, and not allowing us the ability to try him here. However, the Mexican federal government seems to have been caught surprised by this. Mexico's Attorney General seeming to be genuinely shocked that this happened.
Right. Well, I mean, look, corruption is rampant and rife in Mexico, especially in the justice system and law enforcement. I mean, this smacks of a payoff, right? The judiciary got some money.
Right, and there is this lingering problem with corruption in Mexico, especially involving their penal system. We're really not that far away from the episode where a U.S. Marine, John Hammer, was held on a ridiculous trumped-up firearms charge. He entered Mexico, declared a firearm that he told would be legal, and ended up in prison there, I believe, for more than a year, only winning release when it was raised at the highest levels of the U.S. and Mexican government. So there is this lingering problem. However, again, I think it's important to view it against the backdrop of generally improving political and economic conditions in Mexico.
Under NAFTA, the United States-Mexican trade is more than $1 billion a day. So arguably, we have some leverage. What should we do? I mean, back in '85 when this happened, Ronald Reagan was president. He shut down the border. He ended trade, which crippled the Mexican economy until they capitulated and nabbed this guy, Quintero, and brought him to justice. Do we need to get tough? What should we do?
Well, back in 1985, it was thought that the Mexican federal government at the highest levels was complicit in this. So it was, you know, an official act, and so we responded properly. Considering that the high levels of the Mexican government, their attorney general, possibly their president, Peña Nieto, who does cast himself as a reformer, says that this is, not something he wanted, perhaps we ought to call him on the mat and say, okay, well, let's work together to have this person extradited. I think we should avoid what has happened between the United States and Russia, for example, where we have very high levels of the government, Secretary of State Kerry, President Obama basically backing the foreign leader into a corner, making it so that they will lose face if they cooperate. So hopefully this can be handled quietly, and this person can be, detained again and turned over to the U.S. or tried at the federal level in Mexico.
Yeah, but I'm not sure the new president is incentivized sufficiently. And what's tragic, Christian, is that not much has really changed since 1985. I mean, these drug lords still operate with impunity, and the Mexican government appears to be impotent.
Right. We have a program with the Mexican government. It was begun under the Bush administration, the Merida Initiative, which provides Mexico with police helicopters, technology to inspect exports and imports without actually physically searching them. This is something that could be scaled back. Peña Nieto is taking a different approach to the drug cartels than his predecessor, the center-right Calderon. But, I think it's worth giving Mexico a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, or at least a little bit of wiggle room here to do the right thing, to signal that they are serious about this, that they're not trying to stick it to the gringos, that they're not going back to the bad old days. Because even though we have a troubling relationship, it's much better to trade with Mexico and to buy things from Mexico than, for example, China, which is an outright enemy.
All right. Well, we do send them billions of dollars for their training and equipment to go after these cartels. Maybe that's the leverage we should exercise. Christian Whiton, thanks very much.